All right, let's get some analysis on this story. Colin Roche is the program director, or coordinator rather, at Climate Justice and Energy at Friends of the Earth Europe. He joins me now from Dublin. Colin, good to have you on the show. This package of measures presented by the European Union is called a green landslide. It's sort of the EU sort of, put a man on the moon moment. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, I think it's really important that the European Union has prioritised climate change for its programme at the moment. It has clearly decided that it needs to make a dramatic move forward, and so that's hugely welcome. Unfortunately, what we don't see is enough ambition. So while the European Union has agreed it needs to do something, and it needs to do something ambitious, it's not doing enough. And so Europe, as one of the leading groups in the world who are responsible for climate change, really need to have the solution to climate change. And we're not seeing them do enough to deal with climate change and to keep us within the Paris Agreement targets of 1.5 degrees.
Okay, I hear you. You said the proposed plan by the European Union lacks ambition. I'm looking at it. It makes greenhouse emission targets legally binding. Is that not ambitious?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're looking at in the package is accountability. So it's one thing to say we have legally binding targets at the European Union level, but break that down and we have to look at the member states of the European Union. Do they have targets that they have to meet? And we're still waiting for the details here this afternoon of what the European Union will exactly propose. But we fear that member states may not end up with targets which will force them to do what's necessary to build up their renewables and to deliver enough energy efficiency so that we can live within the climate envelope or the carbon envelope that will keep us within livable temperatures on this planet.
So do you think it's just targets that's not enough?
Well, what the European Union are doing today is basically laying out a framework for how they will deliver their targets. So within that, there's lots of different elements that we'll be looking at. So lots of different measures. And so what we're not seeing really is enough ambition to deliver things like renovations of homes, though that's really recognised by the European Union as something that needs to happen. But again, not enough homes will be renovated as part of this deal. We're also looking for the European Union to take the opportunity of dealing with social issues at the same time as climate issues, to really have a just programme that can move us away from the current situation to one where we're living without carbon emissions. So, for example, you could do a huge amount to address energy poverty in the European Union by simply renovating buildings to high enough standards, and so that the poor people or people living in poverty would not have to be spending large amounts of their income paying to heat their homes. And so we're looking at this dimension, and so we think there's a huge opportunity that the European Union could be taking, but it's not quite grasping it yet. And indeed, it could be taking some measures that could bring us backwards.
It's a good plan, but I understand your stance in terms of not being enough. But the fact of the matter is that the two biggest polluters on the earth, the United States and China, are nowhere near some of these goals, these proposals. What does it mean if they're not a part of this?
Yeah, so it's true that this is the European Union's plan and the European Union's plan alone. And what the European Union can be doing really is delivering leadership. And it's true that it's an economy that has laid out a broad-ranging plan covering lots of parts of the economy and lots of the ways in which we can, showing lots of the ways in which we can deliver on our climate commitments. But as a leader and as one of those countries most responsible for climate change, it needs to go further, and by doing so, it can bring other regions and other countries, such as the United States, along. It can show the way, and that's what we'd like the European Union to be doing, showing the way, so that the United States and Canada and Japan and others can come on board and actually do what they need to be doing to keep the world within 1.5 degrees.
I'm wondering what your thoughts are on of a carbon border tax, because this is actually one of the important things that are being talked about. But let me remind you that China and India have publicly come out and said that they're against it. Japan isn't very keen, and the U.S. is sort of playing its own game.
Yes, the carbon tax will be one of the most controversial things that will come out today, I believe. So for us, we would have a concern that the carbon tax is not used as an excuse to push the responsibility of the European Union onto developing countries. After all, we know that the European Union is one of the groups or regions in the world that has done most to create the problem of climate change. So while it should not be doing is passing the buck to developing countries to deal with that problem. So we'll be looking for at this measure through that lens. Is it one that will deliver on climate justice? Will it help us deliver climate justice, or will it distract from the need for the European Union to reduce its own emissions here within the EU's borders? And that for us is going to be a really important point when we see the proposals later today.
Yeah, that's going to happen. That's going to happen later today. All right, some fantastic analysis from you. Thank you very much, Colin Roche, live for us from London.